All right, checking my mic. Can you hear me? Thumbs up? Okay, perfect. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for the Equity and Accessibility Tools in Canvas to Serve Every Student session. My name is Teresa Castro.
And I am Ricardo Recinos.
And we are both Tectosas from Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. So we're going to be sharing wonderful stories from our district and also throwing in some wonderful tools for you to use within Canvas. So that we know where you are when it comes to accessibility, we would love and appreciate for you to take a poll here built inside of BoomSet. So on the very right of your screen, you'll see poll. If you could click on that, and then you'll see a poll and it's asking how familiar are you with accessibility tools in Canvas. So let's take some time to actually take this and it will help us and guide us through our training today. So Ricardo's going to put his timer that he loves so much onto the screen. All right, perfect. We're going to let that run a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and continue on with our presentation. So if you want to be able to follow along with us in our presentation or to be able to access it later on, we don't want you to have to worry about taking screenshots and things like that. All these materials will be here for you, and Ricardo's going to take you into that right now.
Yes, so as you can see in our presentation, we do have a bit.ly that is up there. We also have added that to the chat, so you do have access by just clicking on it. And if you have a mobile device, we do have a QR code that you can just take a picture of, and it will take you to the same place. So I'll give you a second to do that. And as you click on that, what it's going to do is going to take you into our Canvas resource page that we created for you. And let me put that up. It should have been up. And it looks something like this, okay? So when you get in here, you have access to our presentation, as Teresa said. So you have access here. And we also have added a Padlet in here to kind of create a little bit more of engagement. And Teresa is going to talk about that.
Okay, so this Padlet is great. It's a great tool for us to kind of put a place for all of our thoughts. So the first column is aha moments, things that I like, learned, or would like to try. And we have in the middle the questions. If we don't have time to get to questions in this session, we'll definitely go back in there and answer questions. And then also suggestions and resources. We know we have experts that are in this room and who probably know a lot more and would like to share. So please feel free to share your resources here. This is just a great place for us to revisit and to go through it. We promise to go back to this from time to time to make sure we're catching all of those questions. And I also want you to notice that as we share our tools today in our session, we're sharing things that could actually be embedded inside of Canvas where you or your students will not have to leave the platform in order to use it.
Right. If it's too small for you and you can't read it, you can just basically come over here and click to make it bigger. But again, as Teresa mentioned, we want to make sure that you never leave Canvas and our students don't have to leave Canvas to use any of these tools. We've done this session before, a shorter version of it, and you have access to that right here. We also are going to be talking about Canvas Studio, and you'll hear us talk about Captions in Studio, and we have added that in here too. We also want to make sure that you know how important captions are in Zoom. So we have a video on how you can add captions in Zoom for free. Also, any resource that we shared today, you have all the links right here to be able to go to them and you can take them with you. And finally, our contact info is in here with our emails, our social media, and anything that you might need. Again, we are Tectosas from Hacienda La Puente under the direction of Dr. Judy Fancher.
And so before we begin, as is great for you to do with your students as well, it's always great to check on how your students are doing, that SEL piece of just knowing where everyone's mindset is. So what we've done, you can do this with Google Forms, you could do it with Microsoft Forms. Here we've used a Microsoft form. So if you are in our course right now, if you're not here, you can click on it in our chat. You can go to the course, and in here we have the mood meter. to the left, and you can go ahead and take this survey for us. So we're just going to give you a few seconds to do this, and Ricardo's going to talk a little bit about it while you're filling it out.
So as Teresa mentioned, we wanted to use a tool that can be helpful and also show you some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about. I chose Microsoft Forms because you're going to notice that in here, you have the ability to have the Immersive Reader in here. So it's a great tool to have where Immersive Reader is included. But we'll give you a second to just kind of go through it and tell us how you're feeling today. And if you want to give us a reason in here. And what we want you to see is that we did this with our students. A lot of our teachers decided to use this form. Some of them use Google Forms, as Teresa mentioned. But what a great tool to go in there after our students have actually taken it and be able to see the data. And for me as a teacher, I can come in here and see that most of my kids were feeling happy today. So, I can continue, but if there was something that I should be worried about, this will tell me and I'll be able to see it and say, okay, maybe I have to go and, provide personal attention to that student or be able to maybe reach out and see how they're doing. In addition, the last question gives you responses with more data. So if I went in here, I can actually come in here and see that Brandon told me that he felt great because he was starting the first day of school, right? But also if there was something that maybe was wrong, I could see the reason and it gives me that opportunity to reach out to that student. So this is just a very quick form that you can use to kind of get a feel of the room. Go ahead, Teresa.
Thank you, Ricardo. Okay, so we're going to get back to our presentation right now. And again, we are doing equity and accessibility. But before we get into that, we actually have to define what accessibility means to us and means to us as educators. So we're going to want your input on that as well. So we're going to bring you into a poll that is here, built in here. Ricardo, I'm going to go ahead and let you speak on that.
Right, so you'll notice that we're using Poll Everywhere. This is something that you can use inside of Canvas by just embedding. But what you would do in the chat, you should have the link for the Poll Everywhere. But if you don't, all you need to do is go to this link right here. And once you go to it, you should be able to just answer the question. What is the first word that comes to mind when you think of the word accessibility? Okay, and then we see some answers coming in here already. And we'll give you about 15 seconds to do that for us.
All right, perfect. Okay, so as this is happening right now, we just want you to notice there are so many word cloud platforms that you could use out there. The reason why we chose Poll Everywhere, as you could see, the words are changing sizes. So this is another layer of conversation that you could have with your students. As more students choose these words, it gets bigger. So, why did more students choose this? Why did less choose this? And that's just another layer of conversation. So we're always going to explain to you why we chose these tools, because purpose is the most important, right?
Yes, this is a tool that as an AP Spanish literature teacher, as I was starting a new novel maybe, and I wanted to talk about the themes, I would just show maybe the front of the cover of the novel, and the kids would be like, the question will be, what do you think when you see those images? And then as the words got bigger, I could start those conversations about what the book was going to be. And you're seeing it right now, and you see our number one word right now is access, right? Go ahead, Teresa.
And how powerful that this is for students to see their words up on the screen, right? And so thank you so much for your input. This is wonderful, and just all the possibilities that you could use this for many things in the classroom. And again, it can be built inside of Canvas, so they don't have to go anywhere. So let's go ahead and continue.
Did you mention your accessibility definition?
Oh, I forgot. Okay, so Ricardo and I were going back and forth and trying to figure out how do you really explain accessibility? You think you know what it means, but there's just so many ways that you can apply it. And I was telling him that, there's a lot of times that I drive around with my family, and my husband's an engineer, and he points at buildings and he says, well, that's not accessible. That's not accessible. And he's referring to making sure that there's ramps, that there's lifts, that people with disabilities are able to access the building. That's what we're doing in education. We're finding ways to give equitable access to all students to whatever material that we're trying to provide, right, Ricardo?
Yes, and when we were trying to define it ourselves, we basically ended up going back to the OCR definition of the U.S. Department of Education, and it's just defined as when a person with a disability is afforded the opportunity to acquire the same information, engage in the same interactions, and enjoy the same services as a person without disability. And that's what we want to do today with the tools we're going to show you.
Perfect. Thank you. And the reason why we're here today, this is the MTSS conference. And so we are going to be looking at it from that lens. And we're going to be spending most of our time here in Tier 1, where we're providing instruction and supports that are designed and differentiated for all students in all settings. So these are not things that are optional and just for the differentiation, for those few students, but this is for everybody, because we always want all students to be able to access your instruction. So we know that there are tons of tools for accessibility out there. So many. We can do days of trainings to go into these wonderful tools, but we do have just this short hour to work with you. So we just wanted to know that here are resources for you to go to, but we're going to be staying focused in tools that could be used inside of Canvas and tools that would make the most impact to us as we go back into the classroom.
But we did not want to leave without giving you some other resources. So we did provide some links for Microsoft tools for accessibility, and you will see the Microsoft Reader being part of it inside of Canvas. We also have Apple tools for accessibility, and finally Google tools for accessibility. So these resources are there for you. Just to give you an idea, Microsoft Reader, Microsoft provides this chart that gives you an idea what they're adding, all of these tools that they're adding in their different programs, and it's updated all the time. I just wanted to give you an idea when we talk about spacing, read aloud, and so on, so you can see how they keep adding it to all of their software that they provide.
Thank you. So we just wanted to share this quote that has meant so much to us because, we're really passionate about what we're sharing today. And I'll just go right into it. Students would rather go without than stand out. We need to move from assuming access to ensuring access in classrooms. So Ricardo and I both came as language learners into this country, and we have our own stories to share, but I was definitely one of those students that could be easily overlooked. I sat there in the back quietly, and I would rather definitely go without than stand out. So a lot of the time, I didn't understand what the teacher was saying. I didn't know what was going on, but as long as I kind of stayed quiet, I was easily forgotten. And we want to make sure that, we provide students tools for those students so that they could have access. And Ricardo has a really powerful story, not just for him, but I think it applies a lot to our students today. And I thought it would be a big impact for him to share that with us.
Yes, I can tell you, as Teresa mentioned, I was completely forgotten. I came to the States when I was about 14 years old from El Salvador, escaping the civil war over there. I went to Garfield High School in East Los Angeles, and I remember my first day of class, I was given an assessment in English to test my skills. Obviously, I did not speak the language, so I did horribly. All of a sudden, I'm being placed on all these remedial classes. And I still remember to this day, my high school counselor saying, "Pobrecito no sabe nada," which means poor kid, he doesn't know anything. And of course, I didn't know anything because I didn't have a chance to show what I can do in my own language or with the skills that I had. So I spent a year and a half lost in these remedial classes. And it wasn't until one day when a high school college counselor and a teacher by the name of Jaime Escalante, who you might not know if you have seen the movie Stand and Deliver, came to my homeroom and took me out of the homeroom, and they gave me a placement test in my language. And all of a sudden, I was in trigonometry and math analysis. Eventually, I ended up taking Calculus AB and Calculus BC and ended up going to USC on a full scholarship. So that person that actually saw me, right, and the person that included me and provided me those tools, I just wanted to share that.
And again, and those are the reasons why we chose the tools that we're going to share with you today, because it, would make the biggest impact for students just like him, if you were new to the country. So let's go ahead and move on. We also wanted to bring in the layer of our students as well. Hold on.
Yeah, you might notice over here that we are using actually a tool right now. You're seeing our captions, but you're seeing our captions in Spanish. What a great tool. I would have been able to use and benefit from this tool if this was available for me. We have used this in our district. We had two students that had just came from China and they did not speak English and they were lost in the classroom. They couldn't communicate. They were in the corner and the teacher tried to help them. He tried to provide a student that was trying to translate. Like you can imagine that the student was now falling behind, trying to do his own work and also help these two students. We brought this in and now all of a sudden our students could see the captions in their own language, and you saw their faces light up because they were part of the classroom culture. They can ask a question in Mandarin, and the teacher will see it in English. We don't have time to show you this powerful tool and its full potential, but we could have a student looking at this in Spanish while the next one is looking at this in Mandarin while the next one is looking in French. So what a great tool to have too.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ricardo. So here are a few of our students that we wanted to highlight, and our teachers were so proud of them because despite whatever challenges they were facing, they were able to really excel using tools and technology that assisted them. So we're going to talk a little bit about their stories before we actually get into the tools. So our first student, this this student actually, he's in elementary school, and we knew him coming through. He was an RSP student who almost ended up in SDC, but we noticed that during the pandemic, he really excelled, not like never before, because he was able to work at his own pace. He was able to keep from distractions, and that confidence he found using these tools, being able to express things that he's usually has difficulty with, that confidence actually, encouraged him to join the speech and debate team for the district, which was amazing. We never thought he would do that. And he actually got third place. And we just wanted to show you a quick snippet of his audition video for, I think the category was humorous interpretation.
A cowboy standoff. This town ain't big enough for the two of us. Oh, yeah? Well, actually, this town has a population of about 1,000 people, so I guess it's big enough for the two of us. Yeah. Wait, what?
I look at that video and just how powerful video is for our students. You're going to see us talk about Studio today. You're going to see us talk about videos in the rich content editor in Canvas. You're also going to see us talk about Flipgrid. And this is very personal to me too, because my daughter was that student that had a horrible time in traditional school. She was bullied and she was not succeeding. And all of a sudden we find ourselves during this pandemic and distance learning. And I'm watching my daughter, and now she's excelling. Now she's able to express. She was shy that she didn't want to participate in class, but not through video. She's doing it, and she's participating, and then she's putting her thoughts into words, and she's showing mastery of content because she was given this tool. So I think this is really, really important to talk about.
And that's the conversation right now, right? Teachers are asking, well, what are we bringing back to the classroom? Are we forgetting everything we did during distance learning? And those are the tools that we're highlighting today. These are things that we highly suggest, using them when you go back.
This is our second student that I wanted to highlight. And you're going to hear me talk about these personal connections a lot. This student came from El Salvador just as I did. And his only goal was to come and get an education here. Can you imagine his first day of class? He was just so nervous, just not knowing the language, not knowing English, having a physical disability, being in a wheelchair, no legs, no hand, and just two fingers on the other hand with limited mobility. But he was very, very bright and very shy at the same time. But, in addition to the tech that we're going to show you, I think the culture at the high school made him feel welcome. So that played a big role for him. The classmates, I remember, will decorate his wheelchair. They will wheel him around. And during class, you will see him help him with his device. He will use Immersive Reader to translate the text that he was using in the class. He would use OneNote transcriptions to record what the teacher was saying, and then he would translate it to his own language. He would use Flipgrid. So we're going to see these tools today, but I wanted to share that story. And at the end, just to give you an idea, he was awarded many awards through the district and also was able to take the AP Spanish language exam and pass it too. So what a great story from this particular kid.
That's amazing. And here's another student that our teachers also wanted to highlight from high school. He had an intellectual disability and also quadriplegia, and, just such a difficult time because we didn't understand what it is that he needed, what he thought, what he knew. And so we introduced technology such as eye gaze, what he's using here, and he was able to express what he was thinking, what he knew about what he was learning. And so the really funny memory that teachers share with us is that, he loved to tell jokes. This is something he was never able to do before. He would love to tell jokes, to say how much he loved his mother. And so it just shows us the impact of technology and how different it can make the world for these types of students. So our goal, not just right now at this moment, but always, is that all technology and required instructional material are accessible to all students. So we're going to go over what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to discover ways to make instruction accessible to all students in Canvas, regardless of their level, their language, or disability. So we're going to explore built-in tools that provide inclusive experience for every user.
Yes, I think you already heard me talk about Immersive Reader. This is one of our students using Immersive Reader inside of Canvas, and I'll play it about 10 seconds.
Early in the morning of January 17th, L994, disaster struck the city of Los Angeles.
So you'll see that. You'll also see us talking about Captions in the rich content editor, as well as in Studio, and other tools such as...
So here's our purpose and non-purpose today. So we talked about showing you all these tools, and here's some examples that we're going to be covering today. We're going to be talking about Immersive Reader. And Ricardo, do you want to talk about those links real quick?
Yes, I don't think we have time to go to the research, but over here you have everything about Immersive Reader and also a research on Immersive Reader and some really interesting numbers about the difference that it makes for our students that are using it.
And so again, this is available for you so you could revisit this later. So we're also going to be going over Captions, Accessibility Checker, which is built into Canvas, Canvas Studio, Flipgrid, and more if we have time. But our non-purposes, we do not expect anyone here to be experts in accessibility tools in Canvas. We're not even experts. We don't expect you to throw out everything that you've been doing. And please don't feel limited to what we share today, because we know this is what works for our district and this is a different story for all of us.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get down to business. We're going to go inside of the Canvas platform so we can introduce you to Immersive Reader.
So as Ricardo is transitioning into that, just know as you listen Ricardo go over Immersive Reader, start thinking in your mind, how could our students use this tool? Our students or our teachers or anybody, what could they use Immersive Reader for? And then when he's done, we're going to ask for some of that input from you. So go ahead.
So Immersive Reader is not a screen reader, but actually is a reading enhancement tool that implements proven techniques to improve reading and writing. And you do have the research on a PowerPoint. But I wanted to share, this is something that some of our students were using in third grade. And a lot of them, including my daughter, was having difficulty with this text. Immersive Reader is inside of all Canvas pages. So you can use it inside of Canvas pages. And if we have time, we're going to show you ways in which you can use it outside of pages in anything that has the rich content editor. But I wanted to show you, all of our students can come in here and they have the button for Immersive Reader. By clicking on Immersive Reader over here, what it does is it takes out all the distractions that might be on that page and turns it into something different and accessible to them. So just to give you an idea what I can do in here, I'm going to change the voice to male just for this particular example, and I'm going to play it.
Visiting Aunt Rose. My Aunt Rose. My Aunt Rose invited me to spend the weekend.
So what a great tool. Our students have the ability to come in here, and maybe for the one that is already reading at a higher level, they can speed up the voice. Or for the one that might need extra support, they can come here and slow it down if they wanted to do that. So that's a great tool. But in addition to that, there's a lot more. And I wanted to show you. If I go to the top to the controls up here, the first one that I have over here, if I click on it, notice that I can increase the size of that text. If I want to, I can decrease the size of it. So that's already a great tool. I can increase the spacing. This was big for my daughter to be able to see this spaced out. I also have the ability to change the fonts. And I know there's studies that say the Comic Sans is the closest to handwriting. So I like to use Comic Sans. I know Teresa always gets a kick out of it. But also the themes, okay? You can change the colors. This is something that my daughter uses the blue. Teresa says that she cannot read anything in blue, but this will be able to help my daughter. I like to use black because it kind of mimics my Kindle. So this will be the way I would like to use it. There's more colors there. So already a great tool, but there's a lot more that it does for you. I'm going to go to the grammar option, thinking about me as an ESL student, the ability to now see all of my nouns in purple, okay? And maybe all of the verbs in red, and maybe all of the adjectives in green, and adverbs in a different color, as well as show the labels. Okay, just now this will help me as a ESL, English language learner. Also, the ability to divide this into syllabus to be able to pronounce. So this is automatically looks completely different from that page that we had a second ago. In addition, and finally, probably my favorite part of Immersive Reader, my daughter had trouble focusing when she was reading. So you do have the ability to turn line focus on, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So now it takes all the distractions out, and she can concentrate line by line as she is reading the text. So what a great tool to have there. She also has picture dictionary. So I can show you that if I go in here and click on home, okay, the picture dictionary comes in here. I can actually click on it and be able to hear the word if I wanted to. And finally, probably my favorite tool, I can come in here and translate to any language. And Immersive Reader uses artificial intelligence. As a Spanish teacher, I can tell you that is very close to the way I will translate this. And honestly, to me, better than Google when I compare it. But I'm just going to go to Spanish just to show you. Let me use Latin America. And now if I choose to translate the whole document, notice that what it's going to do for me. I have the same document completely in Spanish. I can have it read to me in Spanish now.
A la tía Rose. Mi tía Rose. Mi tía Rose me...
in the correct accent, but at the same time, now this becomes a tool because I can compare it to the original text right here. So this is Immersive Reader. And again, it's available on Pages. But again, we have found in our district, our teachers have found other ways to use it. And I wanted to show that to you. Anything that has the rich content editor, our teachers have gotten very, very creative. And they've gone in there and they've actually, what they've done is they've taken just a Word document like this one, okay? And they've gone to File, and then they've gone to Share, and they've embedded the document inside of Canvas. And now you're going to see that the document is in here, maybe to provide instructions or maybe to provide support. And now when our kids come inside of Canvas, they can make it bigger. And you will see that Immersive Reader is right there available for them. So if I was to click on this, it will take it into that Immersive Reader view. One way of using Immersive Reader inside of the rich content editor. Another way that they used it is we're lucky enough to have the 365 cloud assignment external tool turned on at our district. So we can come in here, create an assignment for our students, where if you are familiar with something like Google Classroom, it creates a copy for each of the students. Notice that Immersive Reader is right here. My students can come in here. If they need Immersive Reader, use it. And at the end, they have questions where they can go in here inside of Canvas, click on edit, and they'll be able to answer the questions and turn it in. And now they can go into, the teacher can go into speed graded and grade it right inside of Canvas. So this is Immersive Reader in a nutshell. Go ahead, Teresa. You're muted, Teresa.
Thank you. All right, amazing. So thank you, Ricardo. So if you would like to, in our chat at the very right, you could click on chat and share with us some ways that you or the students could actually use Immersive Reader. So go ahead and throw those in there if you choose. But as you do that, we're going to go ahead and continue. And just wanted to also highlight that Immersive Reader is, once you teach your students how to use it, it is not something that will interrupt your instruction. It's not an additional thing that teachers have to do. You just continue on with your instruction, and it's just a tool that students can use on their own so they could better access what you are trying to teach them. So again, it's not an extra thing. A lot of teachers worry about that, but once you show it to them, they could just use it on their own. So let me go ahead and share and go on to what we're going to talk about next. Please hold. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to be going over something called Accessibility Checker. Sorry for all those squiggly lines in there. And so if you've never heard about Accessibility Checker is actually built into Canvas. So me as a general ed teacher, of course I want all of my students to have equitable access to my material, but I don't always know the little things that can make things easier for them. So Accessibility Checker is amazing because you can use it and it tells me what things I can improve to make it more accessible to different students. So instead of talking about it, let's go ahead and just show you what it is. So I'm going to be focusing mainly on links, lists, images, structure, and tables inside of Canvas, the rich content editor, and using the Accessibility Checker to help us out. So here I am right here. I'm going to edit so that you can actually see me using it. So if you didn't know, these little dots over here on the right, if it's too small, you can use that to make it bigger. So let's talk a little bit about it. So links, we want links to be as descriptive as possible and to integrate the link into your sentence. So a good example would be what you're actually linking them to, like coronavirus disease 2019. A bad example would be click here. Who does that? I do that all the time. I just say click here, and then they don't really know where it is they're going. So we suggest being specific inside of your link and not actually putting the link like the HTTPS, because readers are going to read that to them instead of reading to them what the link is going to. Okay, and lists. So you know when you see lists, it's just a lot more organized for you when you view it. So for the students who just are a little bit overwhelmed with what's on the screen, it helps to organize it in lists. So here are some examples that I created down here. And I'm going to use Accessibility Checker, which is down here at the bottom, this tiny little person in a circle. I'm going to click it, and it gives me some suggestions. Adjacent links with the same URL should be a single link. So for example, HLPUSD YouTube, I have it in 2 different words. It's going to create it. So I can merge links right here if I want. And it simply puts them together. If I like it, great. If I don't, I can just undo it. But I can click it. I'll go ahead and apply it. Great. So now that is one link for them. And the next suggestion is list should be formatted as list. I thought it looked okay already, but we can see what it does. So it formats it as list. And I know the font looks a little weird because I made it bigger so you could see better, but it will make it list for me. Or if you like how it was, just leave it and then you're done. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one. I'm going to cancel that. So our next thing that my words, accessibility checker checks for us are images as well. So a good example for images is actually describing what is in the picture. So a good alternative text for this would be group of students reading. A bad example would be kids reading.jpg. So a lot of us find images online and you bring it in and you don't think twice. But for students with a reader, for students who can't see the picture, the reader is going to tell them what the description is. And a lot of the time it's gibberish. It doesn't tell the students anything about the picture. So let me go ahead and give you an example of that. So again, here we are. And I just went online and I found this picture of a teacher needing help. We could all relate to that. And so in a reader, we'll see what it says. And then for a lot of our teachers, they love using buttons. Here are some buttons in here as well. And let's see what Accessibility Checker has to say for us. So the first one, it's saying this image should not be used. So this image is called Capture 3, but for me, this is a decorative image. This is not part of my instruction. So I would probably click on decorative image, and so the reader doesn't bother with it. Okay. The next one is image, same thing. So the one that says teacher help, I probably would want to call it teacher asking for help, not DENHSS. That doesn't help my student in any way. So maybe... So as the reader goes over and it tells the student, this is a teacher asking for help. Okay, so I can apply that. And then now here are my buttons, and I want my student to know what these buttons are for. So this one is Wednesday, but it's called Photo 4961, and that does not help. So I would label it Wednesday. I would remove that. So it actually reads to them what the button says. So that's very important. Little things that we would normally overlook, which means the world of difference for some of these students. Okay, so I'm just going to cancel that, and I'm going to move on to the next one. So here's our next one when it comes to headings and things like that. So let me go into edit so that we see. So the RCE, or the Rich Content Editor, gives us different options here on how to organize our text so that it's easier to read for our students. So using different style types, it helps visual learners understand how the subtopics relate. So I'm going to go down here. I found this article online. I took the picture, and then I just copied and pasted it pretty much right here. So let's see what Accessibility Checker has to say. So it says heading should not contain more than 120 characters. So it's telling you my heading is a bit too long. So let's see what happens. So what it does is it turns into regular paragraph. Now I see that suggestion, but I don't like it. I still want my heading. What I could do now is I could shorten my heading a little bit, or I could just leave it as is if that's what fits most for my class. Okay, so that's what Accessibility Checker would suggest to me. It would just tell me that my headings are too long. Okay, so I'll move on to the next one, which I believe is the last one. So here we are in tables, and we know a lot of teachers use tables, especially for weekly schedules and things like that. And this looks fine and dandy to me, but Accessibility Checker has some suggestions for us as well that we might not think of. So let me go to edit. Here we are. Pull that down for you. All right, so let's go ahead and just give it a try and let's see what it says. So it's saying right here, a table should include a caption describing the content. So here I have a table, but it doesn't tell the students what this table is. They just have to stare at it for a while to know. And what this is a weekly schedule. So what this will do is it actually I'll click apply, and you can't see it right now because it's in blue, but above my table, it now says weekly schedule. So I didn't have to go in and do it. It just fixed it right here. Here's another thing. Table should include at least one header. So I could put a header in the top row. I'll show it to you in about a moment. I could put headers in the column to the left, or I could do both. I'm going to click on both so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to click on it now. I'm going to apply it and show you what happened. So at this very top, now it's obviously a header. It made it bold. It centered it. So now your eyes don't just see a lot of words. They actually see, okay, here's my header at the top. Here's my header to the left. And it makes it clear. And again, these are things you might not think about. And accessibility helps us to fix that for those students who need it. Okay, and I'm going to cancel that. And that is all I wanted to share with Accessibility Checker.
Thank you, Teresa. If you can stop sharing so I can go ahead and share my screen.
I'm trying.
So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic. And if you give me a second to share my screen and share sound too. Okay, so something that we've mentioned already is how powerful video can be. We're going to talk about video in general, but also about captions for videos. So again, I'm sticking with the rich content editor because I think it's such a powerful tool that is available everywhere in Canvas, discussions, pages, assignments. So I'm going to go in here and just create a new assignment. Okay, and let's just call it captions right now. But we saw our teachers at our district using this option to use video here to make connections with our students. So instead of our students having to read instructions, our teachers would just come in here and click, and now they had the ability to record. So now we had teachers that were recording their agenda, they were recording the instructions, they were recording a welcoming announcement for the day, and so on and so on. So from the side of the teachers, this was very useful. But let's talk about the side of the student, where this became just such a powerful tool for our students to show mastery, to be able to show that they understood material. We might have a student that maybe has trouble expressing and writing, and having the ability to record themselves with video, listen to themselves, and be able to write those main ideas was big for them. Or maybe that student that it's not at the level to write yet, but they can still show mastery through a video, and they were able to just use this feature to record themselves answering questions, or maybe demonstrating by sharing their screen and recording. And Teresa's going to talk about Studio later on, and I'll talk about Flipgrid, but just video in general. But from the teacher point of view, as they were using it, we noticed that they will record, and I won't record today. What I want to do is I'm just going to add a video that I already have created because it's going to take too long to process the video. But they will just basically come in here, take a video or record a video, and notice that when they do that, the rich content editor asks if they want to add captions or subtitles. So a lot of our teachers were doing this to provide accessibility to some of our students. So they would just click here, and over here, Canvas will ask, what language are you using? So when you use it through the rich content editor, you are going to have to add the document with the captions. We have provided a template for you in our Canvas resource page where you just type in whatever you're saying at the right times, and it will do it for you. So I'm going to come in here and just choose the caption file just to show you. And I'm going to throw it in there. And then maybe I have that student like me who maybe needed the support in Spanish. So I can do that too. I can come in here and now choose the language, and I'm going to pick Spanish. And again, I have the file already available. Let me go ahead and go there. And now you're going to notice that when I bring this into the rich content editor, okay, the video is going to come in here, but now I have the ability to have captions, just to show you.
Hey everyone, I'm Teresa Castro, and I'm excited to be here with you today.
And then for that student that wants to choose to hear this in Spanish, they can do that too.
Hey everyone, I'm Teresa Castro, and I'm excited to be here with you today.
And again, in the rich content editor, we had to add the captions, but if you're lucky enough, like our district kids, to have Canvas Studio in their platform, this makes it a lot easier. And Teresa's going to talk a little bit about Studio. And let me go ahead and stop sharing, Teresa, so you can go ahead and move on to that.
All right. Let me share a screen with you. So here we are in Canvas Studio. And if you don't know what Canvas Studio is, it's essentially a place where you can come up here and you can record videos, you can capture your screen, you could capture yourself, you can even add videos from online or from your computer. And it's just a great big library of all your videos. And you can even put them in collections where you could organize them for different things. And you can even collaborate in collections with other teachers. So instead of sending videos to one another, you just throw them into your collection and it all is housed in here. But we're not going to talk as much about all those features. We're going to talk about accessibility here in Studio. So Ricardo was talking about subtitles, and even though what he showed you looked really easy, this is even easier. So I'm just going to go into one of my videos right now. Oops. Please hold. Let me try that one more time. I think I got signed out for a reason. Let me try. Okay, just kidding. Here we go. All right, so here I am in one of my videos. And at the bottom right here, it says captions. And I simply tell Canvas what language I was speaking. So I was speaking in English, and I'm going to request for it to make those captions for me. So I would request it, and it takes some time to process that. So let me show you one that's already done. So here's one over here. And I'm going to go again to my captions, and it says review and publish. So now after it processed it for me, I just click on it, And now I can go through and see, I have a habit of mumbling and sometimes it doesn't pick up what I wanted to say. So I can go through and I could edit and change anything. And then when I'm ready, I would publish it. And now it's there as an option for my students who want to read along as I'm speaking in my video. It was as simple as that. Okay. And before I move on, I wanted to also talk about the annotation tool as well. So if you wanted to add annotations to your videos, you would simply go to the three dots on your video and you would click annotate video, which is what I'm going to do right now with you. So I'm going to click on that. Oh, that's big. Okay, so right here you can see in blue, I have already created these annotations. So I'm just going to show you instead of talk about it because that's a little bit easier. So I'm just going to click a little bit before and play and show you what it does. Those are examples of places. So what I was doing here in this video, I was explaining what nouns were. And so what I did was I annotated by putting in a link that brings them to another place. So I'm just going to click on that. And it brings them into another document that has samples of nouns for students who maybe they understood what I was saying, but maybe they're just students that are more visual, who needs to see pictures and examples of that. So this is another way to give students more access. So they heard me and now they see actual examples. And when they're done, they just click continue and then they keep going with my video. And I have another one that's very similar right here. So you could, in your annotations, you can link them to other videos, link them to other resources. Just think of the possibilities. You're really deepening their learning by giving them a more cohesive piece by adding these items inside of your videos. So that is what I wanted to share about annotations.
And then I think Teresa and I, again, can spend hours talking about Studio because we think it's such a great tool. Unfortunately, we can't spend that much time, but I wanted to mention one more thing before we move on. So now if you created your collections, you've added videos from YouTube, you created your own videos, and notice that with Canvas Studio, now you have the ability to create quizzes. You can see the rocket ship over here that tells you that I created a quiz, but now I can use that same video and not just create one quiz, but maybe create 3 different quizzes to differentiate for my students and to provide access. Maybe that student that is at the a normal reading pace will take this particular quiz, but maybe that student that is advanced might take this one, while the one that might need extra support might take the third one. So again, a great tool to have. You're using the same material, but you are differentiating with the different type of quizzes that you use. And we do have access to our presentation on Studio and Studio quizzes in the resource page. So we wanted to make sure that we mentioned that. We also wanted to talk, just to add to Captions, again, Canvas is always very proactive, and something that they added about a month ago. If you went to your account and you went to settings, you will notice that now you actually go, if you scroll down to the bottom, you have the option to, by default, auto show closed captions. So this is not enabled. So you have to come in here and click on actually enable it or disable. So anything that has captions will show the captions if you enable this right here. So what a great tool to have in there. Okay, we want to move on now, and we want to talk about something else that goes along with video. So a lot of our teachers, and you might be familiar with Flipgrid. Now, Flipgrid's motto is to empower all students by amplifying their voices, again, through video. So they were using Flipgrid outside of Canvas. And when we figured out that you could do the integration, the LTI integrations on the external tool, our teachers moved all of their Flipgrid content into Canvas. And I wanted to show you just a quick example of what this will look like. We do have a video on how to set this up to add Flipgrid to your Canvas, but I'm just going to show you, once you've added, you can just basically create an assignment with an external tool. In here, our students will come in here. Here is the Flipgrid. Teachers have the ability to go to speed graded and graded inside of Canvas. They never have to leave, but we have a prompt. We might have any resources through pictures, videos, documents, and so on and so on. Notice that Immersive Reader is right here in front of us without having to leave Canvas, but our students will read the prompt and they're ready to answer the question. They basically would just click on record a response. The camera will open for them. And notice that over here, we discovered that they love Flipgrid because it mimics a lot of the stuff that they're used to with filters, with social media, and so on and so on. So our kids didn't even think that they were actually completing schoolwork. They were just loving the tool. So in here, our students have the ability to maybe just upload a clip if they had a clip, to just use the mic if they don't want to show their faces. I know as a Spanish teacher, the first time they used it, I allowed them to kind of close their camera because they were a little shy, to mirror the video and other tools in here. But the main tools are right here under effects. Students can have filters if they wanted to. Let me just show you that really, really quick. Okay. At the same time, maybe they are talking and presenting, and while they're talking, they can come in here and add text just to show you that. So maybe they're presenting about Romeo and Juliet, and they can come in here, and as they're talking, they're recording, they can have that in front of them right there. So a great tool to have. Okay. They also have the ability to ink in here. So I can come in here and draw as I'm recording. What a great tool to have as they're talking. In addition, this is the one that our teachers use the most, the boards. So we'll have that student that might be talking about how to solve a problem in math. And now they have a board right here. I can't find the right one, but they can record themselves while they're solving a problem if they wanted to do that. So they can be writing on the board while they're solving a problem. And finally, I think I had one more in here. They can add a photo. So I had students that were presenting on a particular book report, and they had the photo of the book, and they were talking and they were recording. And again, they will do it inside of Canvas. They will submit the assignment, and teachers were able to go into SpeedGrader and grade it. We don't have time to go into SpeedGrader, but we saw a lot of our teachers actually using the video feature inside of SpeedGrader to provide feedback. So instead of having our students going and reading the feedback that a teacher was leaving, the teachers were recording themselves leaving feedback, and now it became more personal, and it created that connection with our teachers and students. So that was another tool and another way in which they use video. You might have noticed too, when I went to assignments, that I had emojis. This was something that our teachers discovered right away, and they started using. You might think that student that might get distracted by seeing a lot of assignments or maybe going through a module. Our teachers train our students to know that whenever they saw the bullseye, there was something that needed to be turned in. This is very simple to do inside of Canvas. If I go to an assignment, I can just go to assignment. And when I go to the assignment name in here, some teachers use an outside emoji page, but I just like to go and hit Windows, period. And notice that the emoji keyboard shows up for me, and I can go in here and just add those bullseyes and add the title, and my students will know that that was something they had to turn in, and they had to pay attention to that particular assignment. So another tool that our teachers found inside of Canvas and use a lot. Finally, another one that they found, our students at the beginning, when they were being introduced to Canvas, we've been with Canvas for 1 year, they were having a little bit of difficulty trying to figure out how to use the to-do list, or maybe to use the bell, depending on which view they were on. But they quickly discovered that if they went to calendar, and instead of being on week or month, they went to agenda, and they click on a day, they could see by day what was due, when it was due, if they had finished it, and this provided support for them. So another tool that we found inside of Canvas, just going to the agenda view. And then finally, another one that I use all the time, if I go to account, notice that I have that high contrast turned on, enhances the color contrast, but I can turn that off, and you'll see that it's going to switch the way my canvas looks. It's going to turn it probably to blue right now, right here. But if I go back and click on it again, sorry, let me go in here and turn it back on, it would do that for me. So again, these are some of the tools that our teachers at HLP-USD have been using throughout the year, and we wanted to share that with you and kind of give you a snapshot of just what's going on in our district. Teresa?
So Ricardo, we have a few extra minutes. I don't know if you wanted to show them how to put things in assignments, or if we could move on at this point. What do you think?
Sure, I could do that. So I think I mentioned to you, when it comes to Immersive Reader, we are lucky enough to have the Office 365 cloud assignment. And if you don't have that turned on, just talk to your district IT department, and they should be able to help you. But once you have it, you can go into assignments, and I can just call this Immersive Reader test if I want to. Okay, and now I come in here and I give the instructions. Remember, you could use the video to give instructions to create that connection if you wanted to, give the points for this particular assignment. And now in here, I can switch it to external tool. Okay, and when I do that, I can go to Find. And again, our district has the Office 365 cloud assignment turned on. And let me find it. It's right here. So I would just click on it. And what it's going to do is going to link it to my Office 365. And then here, I have the ability to go to my OneDrive. Just going to go to Canvas, maybe, and find a document that I want to use. I'll just use this one right here. Okay, attach file. And then Canvas is going to know to put this in and create a copy for each student when the assignment goes out. So it's going in there. I'm going to select. Okay, I like to load it in a new tab if I want to, just because it makes it bigger. I can give a due date and an end date if I want to do that. And let's go ahead and save and publish. And you will see that now, let's open a new window. It's going to open, it's going to create a copy for each student. It's going to go in there, and our students have the ability to have the immersive reader and also to go and edit the document, make quick changes, and then they can come in here and put their answers. Okay, if I wanted to put this in here, right? Whatever it might be, and when they submit it, now the teacher can see this inside of SpeedGrader. So that's a way of using Immersive Reader through an assignment in Canvas.
It's amazing. Thank you so much. All right, so we do have a little extra time. We just wanted to remind you, I believe in the chat that they have put in a link to share your feedback for our session. So if you can do that, we would greatly appreciate that, and you'll be entered into a raffle as well. So please take time to do that, and we're going to give you time to enjoy your lunch a little bit before heading to additional sessions this afternoon. But thank you so much for joining our session. And just know that you can reach out to us at any time. We've had districts from all over asking for support. We're all in this together. So please let us know. We've provided our contact information. And Ricardo, are you going to that right now?
Yes, I am. And one thing that I wanted to mention with that is that in addition, I'm going to go to student view so you can see this. In addition to the resources for today's session, we also gave you access to our HOP-USD YouTube, where we have a playlist of hundreds and hundreds of videos when it comes to Canvas, when it comes to accessibility, Zoom, and so on and so on. But you have this in here. And again, like Teresa mentioned, we have our contact info right here, our emails, and any social media link that you can use to reach us.
Again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much.